development if they are well harnessed.
I like that.
But what is lacking in the Nigerian context is the fact that we have not developed institutional frameworks for transforming conflicts. And so what you find is that these conflicts fester for a long time, and then it starts taking different colorations, political, religious, ethnic, until it goes out of hand. If we look at the various conflicts we have had, whether it's boundary disputes, whether it's agitations over resource control, whether it's bad governance, you would see that there were telltale signs for months or years prior to all of the crisis. And
that's where security expertise comes to play.
Yes,
being
exactly.
Able to
so identify
at the early stage.
Exactly. You know,
And nip in the bud.
We have agencies of government who are saddled with their national responsibility for that. There ought to have been risk assessments, you know, conducted in those areas that are considered prone or volatile, so that you can identify the triggers. There are always triggers for all of this. For example, these recent protests was triggered mostly by the dwindling state of economic affairs of our country. The state at which Nigerians have become pulverized. And this was mostly exacerbated in the last 12 months, when the new government came into power, and then there were policies after policies that were rolled out to usher Nigeria into a downward spiral. And we should have known that no matter how laudable those policies are, there are implications. Perhaps there could have been a much more strategic approach on how to implement them. If you speak to an economist who knows their onion, they will tell you that some of the policies that were made are actually good. But was the approach right? Was the timing correct? Were there alternative means by which, or process by which would have implemented it? Of course, there are myriad approaches that could have been adopted. But because policies in Nigeria, and I dare say in Africa, are often rolled out for political leverage, so we don't even know where to draw the line between electioneering and actual governance. So we make policies as though we are still campaigning for elections until we are face to face with the consequences. This is the scenario Nigeria has found itself, and that approach has got to change. Otherwise, we are going to find a recurrence of issues like this. Unfortunately, we don't learn from history, and history has a way of repeating itself again and again.
Okay, let me come in here, talking about responsibility of security operatives and how they handle information. We do recall before the protest, the DSS did come out to say they had information that the whole protest movement was going to be hijacked and all that, and then they thought the best alternative was to try and stop it, or to make government condone people into a particular box or a space, so it doesn't spread. But we did see what happened in the north, where the conversation wasn't about end hunger anymore. It was about a change of government.
Absolutely.
Talking about information handling, what more could our security agencies have done to ensure that, kind of being a flashpoint, for instance, it doesn't, deviate or become a platform for people who had other agendas to leverage on? What could they have done?
Well, there are many things they could have done. Firstly, what you find are knee-jerk responses, and whenever your policies or activities are reactive in nature, you are likely going to be running behind time. What is needed are proactive steps. And one of the first of those proactive steps is identifying triggers of conflict. When you identify the triggers, there are those that could be managed democratically. We have structures for that. There are those that may require some sort of drastic measures. For example, when you realize, based on intelligence reports, that this legitimate action, protest action, could be hijacked, the